Squirrels are known for saving, but with the help of AARP, they won't be the only ones. From planning to budgeting, AARP is here to help you stretch your dollar further. So take on today and every day with AARP. Learn how at takeontoday.aarp.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Kornheiser has another day off. Do you know where he is, Frank?
I'm Frank Isola. You know, he didn't get picked last night, but he's hoping to go early in the second round tonight.
You think it's one of those family parties he's having where he's embarrassed?
The word was he didn't measure out well. That's why he's dropping.
What measurables would those be?
I'm not going to say that. That wouldn't be
average size of his
flat screen TVs. It's a family program, Michael.
That's about it. Not the hair length either. Neither one of us
got a good golf
measurable in that. Welcome to PTI. Tony has abandoned you, so we're lucky to be joined by our great friend from the New York Daily News, Frank Isola.
This is when I hug Roger Goodell, right?
That's it. That's exactly what we do.
Big bear hug.
We begin, grudgingly, with the NFL draft. The 4 quarterback scouts didn't even like particularly early in January. Were all chosen in the top 10 last night. Wow, historic. Baker Mayfield, when he starts at some point, will be the Browns' 29th or 30th starting quarterback since 1999, but I'm sure he'll be great. Sam Darnold will undoubtedly lead the Jets to a Super Bowl. Josh Allen will throw it 75 yards into a Lake Erie headwind. And Josh Rosen, we'll get to him in a second. Frank, your takeaway from last night is what?
Man, you don't seem to be believing in a lot of these picks, do you?
None.
You know, the Cleveland Browns are on the clock, and they had the opportunity to
They're on the clock again tonight, by the way.
Exactly. They had the opportunity to take the first offensive player, to me a bit of a reach, and they took the first defensive player, which some think is a reach. I really don't. I understand Bradley Chubb is still on the board, and he's a pass rusher. They have one of those. In the NFL, when you're talking defense...
Can you have too many pass rushers?
They have Denzel Ward now that they drafted him fourth.
Needed a corner.
And you know what? You could make the case it's just as important as having the pass rusher, and they had that last year with Myles Garrett. So to me, Cleveland, a bit of a reach at number 1. Yeah. I don't have a problem with number 4.
I mean, my impressions last night had more to do with the trade the Oakland Raiders made to make themselves better and give themselves a ton of weapons. It didn't have much to do with the draft, and here's why. Because in 2012, everybody wants to rush to proclaim how great the draft is. In 2013, those guys should be in the prime of their careers now. 2 Pro Bowlers chosen in the top 12 players. And if you look at the Cleveland Browns specifically, now we're going back to 2012, they choose Trent Richardson with the 3rd overall pick, bust. Brandon Whedon, quarterback with the 22nd pick, bust. Is he even around anymore? He's somewhere, maybe Houston. And another time, 2014, they choose a cornerback, Justin Gilbert with the 8th pick, released and suspended. Johnny Manziel with the 22 pick.
This is
Groundhog Day.
It's a new regime.
This is the same junk over and over. What is it the Cleveland Browns, what is it about what they've done that's supposed to impress me any more than the 2 years of draft picks in the first round I just read you?
It's a new regime, that's why.
Oh, that's why?
Now,
really?
What was interesting about the draft...
Weren't they new regimes at some point, each one of them?
Well, everybody has their own ideas. Okay. And hey, they knew they were taking Baker Mayfield a long time ago to draft the number 1.
Do you believe in it? Do you believe we're going to sit here in 2 years, you and me, and talk about how great Baker Mayfield is?
How about Lamar Jackson, though, taking the last pick of the first round by Baltimore? Flacco only under contract, guaranteed money for 1 more year.
Interesting. That is interesting.
They traded up to get him.
Flacco hadn't done squats since winning the Super Bowl, which is like 4 years now.
And I didn't want to see Lamar Jackson have to sit there all night and not get taken.
Like Tony, second round.
No, 5 quarterbacks taken. Of course, UCLA's Josh Rosen was the 4th quarterback taken last night, selected 10th overall by the Arizona Cardinals, and he's not happy about it. Rosen said, and I quote, "I dropped and I was pissed." He then added, "There were 9 mistakes ahead of me." Ooh, wow. I'll tell you what, for a smart guy, to me, that's a dumb comment. So, Michael, should Rosen have been upset about where he was selected?
No. Rosen is going to get to go to Arizona. And the only thing he needs to do is walk up to the locker that says 11 on it and say to a future Hall of Fame wide receiver who's been as good a teammate and as good a big brother in this league as there's been in a couple of decades and say, "Excuse me, Mr. Fitzgerald, where can I throw the ball to make you happy and shut up?" I mean, I like that the kid is angry, so you channel it. I get all of that. He, to me, went a little bit too far. 9 mistakes. Really? You got a lot of proving to do, son.
Well, and also, too, there are a couple of those players were offensive linemen. One of them taken by San Francisco. San Francisco has a quarterback.
Right.
So to say...
They don't need to take him.
To me, It came across as obnoxious. You want to sit there and say, I believe
obnoxious.
that I'm the best player in the draft. Why are you knocking the 9 players taken ahead of you? By the way, Dan Marino was a late first-round pick. Need I remind you, Tom Brady was the 199th pick. Guess what they did? They didn't say that you're going to regret this. They proved it on the field. So you know what? You'll get your turn. He's an intelligent guy. That's a dumb comment to make. And I get it. One of the reasons why a lot of people don't like him, he's outspoken. He's critical of the president, where he wants to play.
But you better
shouldn't go there.
I had a journalism teacher that said to me, don't tell me, show me. Right? I guess we all had some journalism teacher like that. And so I want to see that from this kid. He starts off with a pretty veteran ball club. The cupboard is not bare. Yes, the Arizona Cardinals have some work to do. Yep. Nobody's going to predict Super Bowl for them right now. But there's enough there to work with, starting with a Hall of Fame receiver.
I wonder if he's upset that he got taken by them. Sam Bradford, Mike Glennon are on the Cardinals.
You wouldn't want to go to Arizona? Then beat them out.
I think
if you're that damn good, then beat those guys out.
You want to know what he wanted?
Couldn't hold off a rookie last year.
He wanted
Bradford's
to go
always hurt.
to the Giants, but the Giants did the right thing. Saquon Barkley with Odell Beckham Jr.
I don't know who did the right thing.
What do you mean we think?
Because I just read you would go
one
through
of
some
them
more
is going
years.
to be good. Somebody's going to be good.
Maybe some guy drafted in the 5th round like Tom Brady. Or the 2nd round like Joe Montana. Or was it 3rd
John
round?
Elway was the number 1 overall pick.
But not all of them are Elway now.
All right.
One game in the NBA last night, Frank. The Bucks closed really strong to beat the Celtics to force a Game 7 back in Boston. No more questions about the Freak not shooting after this game. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 31 and 14, and he got plenty of help from Middleton, Brogdon, and yes, a resurrected Jabari Parker. The home team has won each of the 6 games so far in this series. Frank, the Celtics are 18 and 4 all-time in Game 7s at the Garden, and the Bucks are 0 and 6 all-time in Game 7s on the road. Do I really need then to even ask you who should win this game?
Bill Russell's not walking through that door. No. Let me ask you this. Game 7, you want home court advantage or you want the best player in the series?
I want the best team. I want the best team. I want the Boston Celtics.
Wait. You're Mr. Michael Jordan. You don't want, not that he played in a lot of Game 7s.
He's not. No, but, I mean, Jordan, early in his career, like the Freak, lost these games. And by the way, 2 of them were at Boston Garden, including a game in which he had an historic performance in overtime, 63 points, I think it was. So I want the best team. And right now, and by the way, Freak will be there. And I hope you keep this cast together and are smart enough to re-sign Jabari Parker now that he's proven he can still play. But is it tomorrow night? Tomorrow night, the Boston Celtics are going to win Game 7. You know this. You know this.
I would only say this. Now, Al Horford's been on both sides of it. He's lost a Game 7 in Boston when he played for Atlanta. Last year, they beat Washington.
Yeah.
He talks about, the building and all this stuff. To me, the best player in this one, and this is where Antetokounmpo could really grow up. They needed to win last night. You don't want to go out in 6 games to a team that doesn't have Gordon Hayward and, of course, doesn't have Kyrie Irving and Marcus Smart just coming back. This is a chance for him, and everybody wants to put him on this pedestal. And he's a great player, and he's only going to get better.
Breakthrough by winning this game?
Go on the road. You're the best player in the series.
That's a breakthrough.
Win this game.
That's a breakthrough. But I just think with the combination, first of all, you mentioned Marcus Smart, which is like the 5th or 6th guy we mentioned on the team, but getting him back helps.
Huge.
Not that he's going to guard Antetokounmpo. He may find himself in some switches there occasionally, but I just think that the Celtics have a certain poise. They went through this last year in which they won, the first series, I think, in 6 games, then 7 games, then they lost to LeBron in, 5 or 6?
They got blown out in a couple of them.
Look, we talk about experience. I know it's not Milwaukee's first time in the playoffs, but the Celtics have been down this road. I expect them to win at home.
Now, let me give you a name. Malcolm Brogdon played well.
He did, late in the game.
Chance we could see Jason Terry tomorrow night. Been in the NBA for a million years.
You wait.
Been in a lot of big games.
I think only just foul trouble or injury. Maybe you could. Be fun.
He's not going to be afraid to take a big shot.
Jet in a game then.
Absolutely.
That'd be good.
All right. Milwaukee saved its season with a Game 6 win at home. And tonight, the Indiana Pacers, they get their chance. Indiana, of course, got robbed at the end of Game 5. There should have been a goaltending call on your boy LeBron James.
Yeah, that's true.
And now the Pacers have to beat LeBron twice in order to advance. Of course, that's a daunting challenge. But first things first, do you like Indiana's chances to push the Cavs to a Game 7?
I don't know. I keep vacillating on this. Part of me thinks that the calm that LeBron has exhibited in Games 4 and 5,
yep,
that is now going to characterize this series. It's going to define this series. That the Pacers just make too many dumb mistakes. Then they rally, they pull themselves together, but it's too late in Games 4 and 5.
Yep.
And now I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be the same story in Game 6. But you know what, Frank? I think I'm going to go with this going into the game as a prediction. The Pacers are going to physically overwhelm Cleveland tonight and force a Game 7 back in Cleveland.
You know what's amazing about LeBron's career? The last time he had to go to 6 games in the first round was 10 years ago. his first tour of duty with Cleveland.
Incredible.
So it's a much different team. It's not a great team. He's a great player. And if you look at the games where they've won, right? 46 points, 32-44. They need him to have
he's got to go 40 plus. Okay, so Kyle Korver did it last game. He scored enough and did enough to help. It's Love's night. Yeah. Love on the road, it's got to be Love, right? Or Love and J.R. Smith?
Yes, but here's who I'm counting on tonight for Indiana. Oladipo had 32 points in game one.
Terrible offensively.
His last 3 games, 12 of 50. Yeah. Now, you want to say it should be 13 of 50 because that last shot should have counted. Been a goaltend. But he needs to play better. So he's been praised, and rightfully so, all year. He was an all-star, great player, great trade. But this is your moment, like we talked about with Antetokounmpo. This is your moment right now for Oladipo.
Just like with Antetokounmpo, it takes a couple of times usually, even for terrific players, all-stars, future greats, to figure this out and break through. And that might be the case for Oladipo as much as it is for Antetokounmpo. I just think that Indiana, when they're really pretty good and at home, they find guys, the X factors. They find guys that you don't necessarily count on, and Cleveland's going to have to counter that.
No, absolutely. Now, will LeBron have that same type of game where he's averaging 38 points in the series?
He's got to go 40 plus. That's a magic number. 40 plus for them to win.
Will this catch up to him later on? Because he's used to being off right now, resting, getting ready for the next round.
But this is wondrous to watch. I mean, people need to stop having debates about LeBron. Is he this guy? Is he that guy? Just watch this. LeBron James right now in the playoffs carrying a team. It's unbelievable
like I told
to watch.
You, Dwayne Wade thinking about retiring. Darko Milicic has been on a farm in Serbia for 5 years, and this guy's still the best player in the league. It's ridiculous.
It's a treat to watch. Steph Curry is about to return to the Golden State Warrior lineup. When exactly, we don't know. Steve Kerr says Curry appears to be 100% in practice, but also wouldn't mind seeing Curry string several full contact practice sessions together before committing to a return date. The Dubs and the Pelicans tip off their conference semifinal series tomorrow night. Frank, if you ran the Warriors, would you play Curry in game one or take the cautious road and try to protect them as long as possible?
Now we're getting to a place now in sports where we don't even want guys to play in the playoffs. He practiced yesterday.
Right.
He's practicing today. Play. Why? If you think he could play game two, why wouldn't you play in game one?
I agree.
He has missed 14 of their last 15 games. They're 7-7 in those games. You're going to tell me about the end of the regular season. All right, so they're losing some games
I think he needs
don't necessarily count. Remember one thing about New Orleans. Going into their series against Portland, Portland had the strength in the backcourt, we thought. Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum. They got outplayed by Rondo and Drew Holiday.
Disproved that,
Alvin Gentry says, hey, Drew Holiday, for my money, you want to put LeBron, Kawhi Leonard, when he's playing, as the best two-way players in the league, that's fine. Drew Holiday's third. So the backcourt of New Orleans is big time. Rondo in his last 6 playoff games that he's played, he's 6-0.
How about
on the road?
How about the Curry versus Rondo match? Don't we think we're going to see a lot of that? Here's the other thing, Frank, and I agree with you completely. It's going to be hard and maybe a long series to beat New Orleans. You want Steph Curry to sort of play his way into form,
yeah, exactly,
if possible, as quickly, reasonably, as is possible. So I'm with you. Rested him 48 more hours. I mean, how much less risky is that? I'd say put him out there. He's probably going to be on some sort of minutes limitation or minutes watch, if not a limitation. But they're going to need Steph Curry in order to beat both New Orleans and even think about beating Houston.
41-10 with Steph Curry in the lineup this season. What I love about this series, though, because Anthony Davis, when he's healthy, now we're starting to see the superstar that he can be.
Do you
and
put
now
Durant
you have Anthony
on him?
Davis and Durant.
Do you put Durant on him?
At certain points, they should. The one thing about the NBA, that kills
they don't do
away
that
the
anymore.
best player. I know. In the NFL, the best cornerback always defends the best receiver. In the NBA,
that's why it's hard for me to say when people want to say, oh, so-and-so is good as Michael Jordan. No, because he took the best guy on the other team every night for 40 minutes. Yeah. You don't think we're going to see limited Durant versus the Brown?
I think so. Maybe late in games. But what I love is Rondo, who you know,
the whole game.
Ton of
Rondo's
great playoff experience.
Let that go.
And Anthony Davis, he's been a superstar this year.
Agreed. Let's take a break. Coming up, will the Thunder force a Game 7 tonight in Salt Lake City?
And who had the more impressive win last night, the Penguins or the Vegas Golden Knights? Your Caps.
I watched both of those games last night.
I was at one of those games.
You were?
I flew to Vegas.
Pardon the interruption is brought to you by Avengers Infinity War. Whoa. That's opening today? Yeah, I need to get out of here and see that, so I'll finish this later, okay?
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
It's time for Toss Up. 2 hosts, 2 choices, 3 questions. What's first?
Toss up more likely to force a Game 7 tonight, the Wizards or the Thunder?
Frank, the Wizards, quite frankly, have a really good chance of doing this. I'm going to be at this game in a couple of hours. The Wizards have won 8 consecutive home playoff games. All right? They've already won 2 of those.
Tonight, though.
No
Rest of the series.
which hurts.
I know.
They don't use them enough anyway. But they've already won 2 of those 8 games against Toronto in this series. Look, I don't know that the Wizards can beat Toronto on Sunday in a potential Game 7, but I'm going with them tonight to force a Game 7.
I'll be honest with you. I think both Oklahoma City
and
Washington both going to lose.
Really?
Yes. Utah 32-8 since January 22nd. Here's the amazing thing about Oklahoma City, and they had the amazing comeback the other night, down 25 points. Think about the ramifications. They lose one of these next 2 games.
Ooh.
Paul George going into free agency. Carmelo with the $28 million player option.
He's not going anywhere.
He'll be living in Oklahoma City next year. He's not going anywhere with that. But there's a lot right.
You don't think there's any momentum? You don't think there's any carryover from that 25-point comeback because that series is moving to Utah, Salt Lake City?
That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
That was a stunner. What's next?
Toss up more impressive win last night, the Penguins or the Golden Knights?
This was a pretty amazing night of playoff hockey in both games. I watched in their entireties. I'm going to pick the Penguins here because they're on the road against a team that wants nothing more. Their entire desire in life is to finally beat the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're down 2 goals. They scored 3 in fewer than 5 minutes. It was a stunning comeback. And I know that the Knights ran off with the game 7-0 or whatever the final was. I finally turned it off with a minute left. But it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh's clearly in their head. I was at the game doing research for the show. You were nowhere to be found.
It's on my sofa doing research.
And it's amazing. They're up 2-0, and even the crowd kind of feels like, I don't trust the team.
What happened when Pittsburgh scored that first goal? Did it not go silent?
Of course.
Funeral home.
And that's
it always does.
Malkin didn't play. And now you could maybe hold him out for Game 2. But I have to say this about the Golden Knights. In their first round sweep of L.A., they scored a total of 7 goals.
They scored 7 goals last night.
Marc-Andre Fleury has 3 shutouts already in 5 games.
He's the second goaltender to ever do that, apparently in NHL.
Can you believe an expansion team might have a chance to actually win the Stanley Cup?
It won't happen again. Owners will make sure of that. What's next?
Last one, toss up. Who got the better end of their deal, the Raiders or the Steelers?
All right, let's go over this trade for a second.
We have a trade.
Yeah, we have a trade. The Raiders wind up getting Martavis Bryant, a talented wide receiver who's had some issues, been suspended.
For an entire season.
He's been a whiner, but okay, for a 3rd-round pick. So the Raiders add Martavis Bryant to Jordy Nelson and Amari Cooper, and presumably Derek Carr won't stink it out this season like he did last season, or maybe get hurt in Week 15 like he did the previous season. I got to say the Raiders here. No?
This is addition by subtraction.
Oh, you're saying
I trust Mike Tomlin knows the temperature of his locker room. Been coaching there for a long time. If you're going to be a diva wide receiver on the Steelers, your name better be Antonio Brown. It better not be Bryant, who was suspended all of the 2016 season, and last year you're complaining, you want to be traded. The story comes out, you deny it. Organizations like Pittsburgh, they don't deal with stuff like that. You're
traditionally
out.
Don't. Could they go out and get another Bryant? Is that possible?
Might not be a bad idea. Could end up on the Giants.
Be quite a replacement.
That's who the Giants should go after.
All right. That's it. Let's take one last break, but still to come. Will Jason Witten be smart to lead the Cowboys for somebody's booth?
And did the Patriots just trade for a difference maker for Tom Brady?
They didn't trade for Des Bryant, did they?
No.
Of course they could.
Odell Beckham?
Doesn't have a team, so you can't trade for him now.
What about Odell Beckham?
Nah, I don't believe that. Beckham's not going.
Not going to trade him to New England.
No.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So, it was all good.
Happy time, people. Happy 66th birthday, George the Iceman Gervin. He started in something called the ABA with the Virginia Squires and was, along with Julius Erving, Moses Malone, and David Thompson, one of the key figures in the 1976 merger with the NBA. Teardrop? Gervins.
That's right.
Finger roll? Gervins. When it came to cool, Gervin is the basketball what Marvin Gaye is to music.
And he was a teammate of Michael Jordan's. Detroit's
At the very
finest.
end, wasn't he?
Remember, Derek Coleman wore 44.
In honor of Detroit natives,
George Gervin.
both Coleman and Gervin.
Yep.
Happy anniversary to the Houston Texans. On this day last year, the Texans traded for the Browns' second first-round pick and selected Clemson's Deshaun Watson. He was on the way to winning Rookie of the Year easily and probably leading his team to the playoffs when he suffered that torn ACL and missed the rest of the season.
He's a fun player. Who would you rather have, Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson?
Deshaun Watson.
Could've
Even
had
coming
him.
off this. You know what? Players come back from these
I
knee
know.
injuries now. Achilles, not so much, but knees, yes. Happy trails to Jason Witten. Mort is reporting that the Cowboys tight end is retiring to head to the booth, pending a final meeting with Jerry Jones. Witten would join a yet unnamed play-by-play man in ESPN's Monday Night Football booth. I don't think there's ever been a tight end in the Monday Night booth, though. Was Kornheiser very briefly a tight end?
That's good. Jerry Jones, by the way, said nothing's been decided. Also, it's a little odd that this is how ESPN's telling me that I'm not getting the Monday night gig. To announce that Jason Witten might be getting it.
Should Jason
call me back.
Witten? Well, maybe there'll be something in your email. Jason Witten, should he be retiring now? Isn't there some more football left in him? And the Cowboys lose
They're
their
gonna be a
two
different
biggest
team.
playmakers?
I know.
Huh? You're the
Good Dak
quarterback.
Prescott.
How do you feel?
I know, not great. Not great at all.
One omission. Another tight end just made news. The Chargers have informed 37-year-old Antonio Gates they do not plan to sign him. Gates is the all-time franchise leader in receptions, receiving yards, touchdowns. Gates has said he wants to keep playing, Frank.
Don't forget about Ezekiel Elliott with the Cowboys, though.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Can hand the ball off 50 times a game. No more passing.
We're running out of show. Let's get to the big finish. Ian Rappaport says Jay Cutler is expected to retire. How will you remember his career?
This is his second retirement. He retired last year as well.
Yeah.
And he came back.
Booth?
You know what? He had a great arm. Last year, 100 yards, 19 touchdowns. Wasn't terrible.
There was a lot of not terrible.
Come on. All right. The Patriots traded for Niners offensive tackle Trent Brown. Is this a big deal?
When you're 6'8", 400 pounds, you're a big deal. And Von Miller's called him the best right tackle in the NFL.
Yeah.
Elliot Friedman reports the NHL has asked the Bruins to stop Brad Marchand's face licking.
Gross.
This is reasonable, right?
Lance Stevenson said, this guy's disgusting. Completely out of line with the way that he behaves. All right, the Grizzlies gave interim head coach J.B. Bickerstaff a 3-year deal. Are you surprised?
A little bit surprised, but happy that JB's going to get a real chance, not as his interim.
He got his team to play hard.
Diamondbacks are the first team in 17 years to start the season by winning 8 straight series. Will they take down the Nats?
Yes, by the way, they lead the NL 17 wins, the best record. All right, we're out of time. Tony will be back on Monday, everyone. I'm Frank Isola.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.